Guys, welcome to my channel Roots for Software Engineer. In this video I want to start about multi-page application as well as single page application. Okay, now this is most important thing whenever we are going to the React.js subject, because in React.js we are creating about the single page application. So without knowing about the multi-page application, single page application, it's not good to learn React.js. So that's what I decided to cover first multi-page application and single page application before going to start React.js subject. Okay, now let me discuss here today this topic, single page application as well as multi-page application. Okay, now let me write here multi-page application as well as we can say as single page application. Single page application. Okay, now look at here, whenever we are creating web applications, we can create this web application in two ways. Okay, now one is come to the multi-page application and second one is come to the single page application. Okay, now multi-page applications we are creating by using HTML subject, CSS as well as JavaScript. Okay, now whenever it's come to the single page application, we are creating it by using React.js. Okay, now what is the single page, multi-page we'll learn before going to it. Okay, now let me take here multi-page application. Okay, now multi-page application means it is one of the web application. Okay, now multi-page application is one web application. Multi-page application is a web application. Okay, now it consists of multiple HTML pages, means we can say as number of pages with the dot extension of HTML. Okay, and each page. Okay, now on second point we can say as each page is loaded. Each page is loaded individually. Each page is loaded individually when request going to the server. Okay, one request going to the server by the users, we can say as requested by user, requested by the user. Okay, now what is this, we'll see. Look at here, now what we say, it is having the multiple pages, correct? Suppose for example we'll take here one example. Let me take one example. Okay, and here we have one server, correct? So consider here what is that, it is one web application. That too, what web application? Multiple page application. Okay, now we will consider this as server. Okay, now these both are communicating with the help of internet. Correct? Suppose for example this application will consider as example, call it as W3 schools. Okay, W3 schools. Okay, now in the W3 schools top bar, okay, nav bar, we have subject names, call it as HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, now bootstrap, and we have what is a Java, like this, so many we have. Okay, now whenever I'm clicking this HTML, it is going request, post request is going to the server. Okay, post request going to the server, and immediately it is giving for me first response. What is that first response? HTML page. Okay, now it will load what is it? HTML page here. And next, whenever I'm clicking, okay, whenever I'm clicking this, okay, now CSS, okay, now that time again along with the first request, it is taking the second request. Means previous request is HTML page and this time is CSS page. Both are going to the server and it is loading again two responses. Along with the first one, it is giving second one. Okay, now this time it will give what is it? CSS page. Now whenever I am clicking what is a JavaScript, again it is going along with the previous two requests, one request. Now it is giving for us what is it? Three responses. Means what happened? Again and again page is reloading. Again and again page is reloading. This process is nothing but the multi-page application. Okay. Now we can take as another example, and that example call it as, okay, now add to cart. Okay, now in some shopping websites we have add to cart product, right? Okay, now let me take that one also. Suppose imagine here we have one button and that button name call it as cart. Okay, then button name call it as cart, and cart having number of products. Okay, cart having number of products here. Okay, and let me write products names as number of products. Okay, now let me write product names here. P1, okay, now P2, P3, okay, now we'll consider P4, P5 as well as P6. Okay, now these both are communicating with the help of internet. Already you know about this point, correct? Okay, now we can say this as server. Okay, now whenever I'm clicking this product one, okay, now that product, suppose for example product one is nothing but the sari. Okay, now I clicked this sari product. Now it is giving request. Okay, first request is went to the server, correct? Now it will give for us what is it? Sari related, okay, now response. Okay, now that sari related response is, imagine this is the sari related product response. Okay, means here it will give product one image as well as image related content, like what is the related to the sari and whether it is cotton or silky, and next it will give what is it? Price also. Okay, now after that they will provide one button called it as add to cart. They will provide one button called it as add to cart, correct? Okay, now if I will press add to cart, if I will press add to cart, what happen? Previously one request, along with the one request, this time it is going to the another request, call it as add to cart. Okay, now two request is going to the server. It will give for me first request, along with the first request, second request is nothing but the add to cart. Immediately it will add first product. Immediately it will add first product. Okay, now suppose if I will go with the second product, again it is giving the third request along with the first two. Means completely three requests going to the server. It will give for me again one request. So completely how many response I am getting? Three responses. Okay, so immediately it will give product to detail of image as well as related to the price. Okay, now it will give one what is that button called it as add to cart. Whenever I am pressing this add to cart, again it will go to the another request to the server before adding to the cart. Okay, it will give for us four responses and it will add one become like two. Okay, now means what happened? Along with the previous request we are making as new request. Okay, means complete. Suppose previous one means one with the second request, two previous one and this two for second one, both are going to the server and it is giving response for us. Okay, completely it is recycling. Okay, completely it is reloading. This process is nothing but the multi-page application. Okay, now whenever I am doing multi-page application process, okay, whenever I am doing multi-page application process, what happen? Again and again. Okay, now what happen? Again and again we are okay, we are sending data to them, okay, unnecessary data. See what is unnecessary data here. First product we clicked, it's given for us first product details as well as we given add to cart, it's added. Whenever I'm going to the second one, is it required first product? No, but along with the first one again we are making new request, second product request. So what happened here, first product request is unnecessary, but still we are requesting to the server, means again and again, okay. Now we are requesting data if it is unnecessary also, if it is unnecessarily, okay, unnecessarily we are adding to the server, okay. Now that time server okay having overburden, server having what is it, overburden, means somewhat, let me write this one, okay. Now overburden means somewhat pressure increased, overburden means somewhat pressure increased on server, somewhat pressure increased on server. So this type of pressure, okay, is not good. That's what whenever we are requesting in the server, after 1 hour, what is it, 1 minute, or we can say 10 seconds, it is loading for us that related data, means somewhat it is taking some time to refresh or reload our page. That type of things we don't want. We need to avoid to increase pressure on server. Instead of that one, we need to increase pressure on browser. That time we can decrease pressure on server. So that is possible by using the single page application, okay. Now this single page application introduced with the Facebook people, okay, introduced with the Facebook people. Now when they introduce the application call it as Facebook, even for small message or for small request, okay, now completely Facebook page is reloading, complete Facebook page is reloading. That time they decided that I don't want to go to the complete page reloading whenever we are doing small things inside our Facebook page. So that time they realized and they created one subject called it as React.js subject, and this React.js is completely is depending upon the single page application, okay. Now let us discuss about the single page application, okay. Single page application, okay. Now imagine what is the single page application, okay. Now single page application is also a web application, is also a web application, and here we can say as, okay. Now single page, it consists of single HTML page, it consists of single HTML page, that is nothing but the index.html page having multiple components, having, okay. Now multiple components, okay. Single page having the multiple components, okay. Now whenever I'm giving request to the server, that time it will not reload again and again our page. Instead of that one, it will what is it, add components to the existing page, call it as index.html, okay. Now what is it, we'll see here, okay. Now previously for the multi-page application I discussed about the W3 scores. Now for single page application, okay. Now best example call it as Gmail, okay. Best example call it as Gmail, okay. Now we'll discuss this one practically also, but whenever going to the practical, first we'll discuss about theoretical, okay. Now take it here, one application call it as Gmail, next another application, let me take here, okay. Now another thing, what is it, server, and these both are communicating each other with the help of internet, okay. This we can say as server, and this is what is it, web application, that is nothing but the Gmail web application, okay. Now in the Gmail, here we have what is it, first here we have what is it, compose, and later on here we have an option called it as inbox, Next, start, and another option, let me give you properly. Okay, now send option we have. Next, drafts, and another thing call it as more option, correct? Okay, now first time it will show for us what is it, info, inbox messages it will give. Okay, now whenever I opened a Gmail account, immediately complete a page means complete single page it will load for us, complete page it will load. Okay, now after loading, whenever I'm pressing this, okay, start button, that time it will not go to the request to the server. Instead of that one, it will add particular component here. Okay, what is that? Look at here, suppose I will give your first name as gmail.html. This time it will not add another page. Instead of that one, it will add for us e-gmail. Okay, now start.html for the fixed page, previous page we are adding component, we are not refreshing our complete page. Instead of that one, we are adding one component to the page. Okay, now whenever I'm going to the send, again it is not going to the request to the server. Instead of that one, this complete component data we are adding to the, okay, now previous one by using, okay, now React.js, that concept we can say as router concept. Okay, by using the React.js router concept, we can achieve this single page concept. Okay, now how to navigate one page to the another page, this is comes under the single page. Single page means, okay, single page having the multiple components. Okay, now we don't want to again and again page reload. Instead of that one, at a time, okay, one shot we are loading complete page. Okay, now we can discuss some features about the single page application as well as multi-page application. Features of single page application as well as we can say as multi-page application. Okay, now let me write first one, rendering. Okay, now rendering means giving application to the browser. Okay, now this is comes under the client side, because we need to decrease pressure on server side, we need to increase pressure on browser side, so it will comes under the client side. Okay, now multi-page is completely depending on server, so we can say as server side application. Okay, now next, second one we can take here initial loading. Okay, now initial load time. Okay, now complete application at a time we need to take on browser, so it will take some time process, so we can say as longer process. It is the shorter process, because each and every process again and again we are requested to the server. Okay, now when it comes to the navigation means one web page we are connecting to the another web page. Okay, we are navigating one web page to the another web page. This is comes under as a very fast, because we are not requesting to the server, right? Okay, means we are not loading page, no page reloads, we are not reloading the page. But when it comes to multi-page application, it will do the slow process, because it want to go to the server side and it want to give the complete full page reloading, correct? So it will take somewhat process, so we can say as slower process, it will load very slowly. And we can say as another one call it as SEO. Okay, SEO means server side of search engine optimization. Okay, now search engine optimization means whenever we are typing any one of the things, suppose example I opened React.js, I opened YouTube. In the YouTube I search React.js tutorials. That time first time it will give one person video, right? Why it is giving that person video first only, not the last? Because that person having uh, for that person having the search engine optimization. Okay, now that is somewhat more challenging to get search engine optimization for single page application. It will take somewhat challenging process. Okay, simply it will not give. So we can take that search engine optimization with the help of one process called it as server side rendering. Okay, server side rendering. When it comes to multi-page application, we will get very easily this search engine optimization. Okay, next, another thing, fifth one, we can say as, okay, server interaction. Okay, now here server interaction we can do with the help of Ajax, or we can say as fetch fetch for data. Let me write properly, fetch for data. Okay, but when it comes to here, okay, now it will completely depend on full page request. Okay, now we'll see practical example